Welcome back, guys. This is Thomas, and we are doing something a little special on today's episode. We are going to be repainting a Fisher-Price dollhouse. So, little backstory here. If you follow me, I'm assuming you follow some other diorama builders. One person that really inspired me to get into this whole thing was Dripmode. I'd watch all of his videos, and I remember during shutdown or lockdowns, whatever you call it, when there was really no new movies, there was no new TV shows. When I go over to my mom's house and just kind of keep flipping through and there was nothing to watch, that's really when I started using YouTube as more of an entertainment medium. I really wasn't using it all too much before then. And my mom always loved crafting, so she was usually doing that while I was, futzing around with the TV. And I remember one day I was like, oh, let me put one of Drip's videos on. It's crafting, it's action figures, so it's something I like mixed with something she likes. And we just sat there and blew through so many of those videos, and every time I'd come over, we'd either put one on again or watch a new one. So really just got really vested in just the art form of diorama building. That's why I was really excited one time when he posted a video about the X mansion that he did from a Fisher-Price dollhouse. I thought it was so cool, and I think he found it in a thrift store for like 12 bucks. And then I told myself, I'm going to be on the hunt for that dollhouse. It took me probably about 2 years from seeing the video to actually finding that dollhouse. I found it, not as good a deal as 12 bucks, but I found it on Facebook Marketplace, and now it's been sitting in my garage for almost a year and a half. So just getting through X-Men 97, I said, okay, after that series kind of blew my mind, I think I'm more motivated now to finish that project. So I thought now, better time than ever to get started on it. And I thought it would be really cool, for me, this is kind of my thank you letter to Drip. But since it was really getting into his videos and the hobby, it was something I kind of did alongside with my mom. I thought it'd be really cool to have my mom come over and have her work on some of the project too. There's lots of hard, little small detail painting that I know I would not be good at, and that's her wheelhouse. So, kind of a thank you for bringing me and my mom a little closer, but then also welcoming me to this hobby. So we're gonna pull this dollhouse apart. We're gonna take a look at it. My mom's gonna help out, and we're going to turn this thing into the X Mansion. So let's check it out.
So here is the dollhouse, and this thing is massive. It's over 3 feet tall. It's about 4 feet wide once the wings are open, and we'll look at those in a second. But this scales perfectly well with Marvel Legends. I would almost suggest repainting this, and it could be a haunted house, it could be Wayne Manor, but it'd be a little hard to match the scale of the McFarlane figure, so that's why we're doing this for our X-Men. But there's tons of little details on this. I'm a little afraid to take this thing apart, so going into it, just got to be really careful. Don't want to break anything. This thing is 13 years old, I believe. It came out in 2011, so it's definitely pretty old. Just getting the wings open, you can really see the scale and the length of this big dollhouse. So I imagine just being a little kid and you have this to play with, this has to be a lot of fun. And you can see on the side all those sculpted details on the roof with the flowers. They really did put a lot of love into the sculpt, but it's a kid's toy, so it's going to be very flat. As long as you have those bright colors on there, this is perfect for a kid. But we see the potential as far as diorama building when we look at this thing and we look at all of those little carvings and sculpt in it, and we know that we can really bring out the details. So that's what we're going to be doing for this project. So definitely can't paint it as a whole. I wish we could, but we're gonna have to take this thing all together. And then even on the inside, you start looking at some of the details here, and they're phenomenal. So don't know how hard I'll go on the inside. I definitely want to spruce it up and give it some life, but there's definitely a lot to work with inside and out of this diorama. So I'll probably do a lot of details on the molding and all the accents, and probably paint some of the carpets, just to give it some bit of color. But first thing we gotta do is start taking this thing apart, and this is probably why I've waited over a year and a half to do this. So I'm not gonna make you suffer through watching me take this whole thing apart. Just a few things of note to say. It's a lot of screws, so just make sure you keep a baggie to keep them in. And the one thing I didn't do that I should have was taken pictures of how I took this thing apart. Mom came over to help me clean all the pieces, so that was nice. And like I said before, make sure you take photos when you are taking this thing apart, because I had to put it back together all from memory, and it wasn't easy. Some of the pieces are a little difficult to get off. These pink kind of prongs that you see here, they're clipped in and they are meant to stay in. So I had to do a little kind of demo to it. I took these little hand files that I've had and I had to kind of shave them down. And as I was shaving them down, I'd kind of hit it with my soft mallet. But I did this super easy. Make sure if you're trying this that you don't break those arms. If so, you can probably fix them. Something that's really cool is that this thing actually has noises, probably noises you wouldn't use, but it does have working lights, it has the sound of a baby crying, and it has some melody songs if you wanted to play those. So I'm going to try to keep everything intact, but this was also something I wish I took photos of. Now I was really trying to decide what color to do it, and I had that light gray with a brighter blue roof, and then this terracotta with more of a toned down blue, which is ultimately what I went up with in the end. I really wanted it to match the X-Men 97 X-Men Animated Series style, so terracotta, light blue is the exact look that I was looking for. And of course I'm sloppy, so I had some blue overspray, but I'll just spray some terracotta into a cup and then touch up all that paint. Now, one thing I decided to do was give any bit of molding this buttercream hand-painted look, so I did it on the rim of the window, as you can see, and I'm going to start doing this to all of the molding on the whole entire building. So working on this thing for about a week, I didn't paint with anything else but this buttercream color. So by the end of all of this painting, I was really sick of looking at this color, honestly, but I think it gave it that third extra contrasting color that I think looked really nice in the end. So even though it was kind of tedious and a pain in the butt, you know, I did a lot of this stuff, the bulk painting, while my mom worked on a lot of the other details. So I won't complain because I gave her the harder part of this project to do, and all I had to do was just kind of paint this one color throughout the whole thing. So I think I got off easy, but I left my mom to painting some of the smaller details like the flowers. I think she did a phenomenal job with these, and as you can see, it's really tedious, detailed work that might not be my forte. Now here's something I was really excited when I figured it out. You know, we do black washes, we do brown washes, but I wasn't sure what would happen if I did a gold wash. I was really trying to get gold paint into the inlays of this flooring. So I thought I'd try it out. Just mix some water with some gold metallic paint, the same way that you would black wash or brown wash an exterior or some kind of terrain. And I just really wanted to see if a lot of that gold metallic would just kind of live in those inlays, and when I wiped it up, it actually worked. So this is kind of my one new skill that I learn each project. This was the one that I was most excited about, so I'll definitely be using this technique for the rest of the flooring that kind of has that inlaid carved outlet into the floor. So I think this came out really cool and was really excited to learn this trick. So I'll continue to do the gold wash on all of the floor panels that I want this kind of motif to happen in. But pretty much everything on the interior, I've spray painted everything brown, is going to get either a gold wash or it's going to get a gold dry brush. So all the molding, all the different accents that are on the walls, I'll do that all in gold. So it'll kind of have this uniform, luxurious, kind of regal look on the inside. So this came out really well. I was most excited about this floor panel. But even some of the carpet work, my mom painted 2 of the carpets. I did this one. I'm going to do that gold wash on the inside, while my mom has been working on the bathroom. She's actually painting each individual tile. This is definitely something I could not have done on my own, but she did all the flooring for the tile, and you can see all that gold inlay on the inside. So pretty much everything's done, and this is where probably taking photos of the disassembly would have helped me, but I'm going to have to start putting this together in a little bit. I'm going to make sure I get all the wiring done, all that stuff, but we'll just wrap up some extra details that we have. So working on the interior, I'm going to paint these pillows just to look like a nice lush little seating area. We'll work on that. So I think this is probably one of the last details I had to work on for the interior, and now probably one of the most satisfying parts of the project is black washing. You know, you spend so much time making sure that all the details are clean and you have those crisp colors on the outside, but now we get to kind of ruin it all and make it dirty, which is perfect for something like this because you really want this to look aged, like it's definitely seen some of the elements. So just getting that wash into all the cracks really starts bringing a piece like this to life. And as mentioned before, the people that sculpted this, not that they ever thought someone would probably do this, but it's like it was almost meant for this to happen. So going to go through the process here, just applying copious amounts of black wash, wiping it off, reapplying, whatever we have to do, and you can start seeing the difference. So we'll do the rooftop pieces, we'll do all the exterior walls, and then we'll really start seeing this thing come to life. And we're just going to keep doing this and making sure that we get the whole exterior. You know, I want this whole building to look like it's been there for years. So what I usually do is, especially on a project this big, I'm just going to give a black wash to almost the entire thing, and I'll let the paint sit there, and then I'll go back and start wiping it off. So I think after this, pretty much everything has been black washed and wiped off. I've probably applied 2 coats of black wash to each panel. And now we're going to start our dry brushing. And when I did the blue roof, I really wasn't sure what color I would dry brush with, but I found this lighter blue, or closer to like a periwinkle, which will just really bring out the color of all the shingles. So pretty much all the roof pieces that are attached to the top, but also to the side of the building, we just want to make sure that we give it this dry brush. And I'm pretty much only going up and down. I really want to look like the weather from the rain or different activity just kind of pulls that dirt and grime towards the bottom. So these are pretty much done. Loving the way that they look. So really happy that the blue actually worked out pretty well. And I think this thing is almost ready for its final detail, which I wasn't going to do at first because on the cartoon there really is no mulch. And I know Drip did this, and I started looking at it and it looked a little blank. So I am going to add my own mulch, but there's certain details I just don't want to block. My mom would kill me if I put mulch on these flowers that she painted. So I'm going to try to work everything around some of those smaller details, so you still get that extra detail with all the greenery, but then I don't block all that great paint work that she did. So just going to apply some Mod Podge, and I'm going to use some fine graded grass or greenery that I have, and then I have a lot of this clump greenery that I have that I'll put on top. This thing didn't stick very well, so I think in the future I might have to get some spray adhesive, maybe some spray Mod Podge, to just make some of those pieces stick better, because every time I move this now, all of these green pieces are falling off. So just something I have to be mindful of. But pretty much after this, that's our last detail. So now I got to figure out how to put it together. And there it is, folks. My X-Mansion, my School of Mutants, my Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters, whatever you want to call it, whatever it is to you, this thing is a beast. I thought repainting something would have been easier than starting a whole brand new project with foam, but that's not always the case. It's definitely not the case with this one, especially because you have to remember how you took it apart and how you're going to put it back together. So if you're going to do this, just take a lesson from me and document when you are taking it apart. But just look at the mass of this thing. And I had a photo there with the Sentinel, and you can see that the Sentinel is even shorter than this. So if you can kind of use your imagination for scale there. But I had so much fun doing this. I had so much fun with my mom coming over and, helping me out with this project. But really what I was inspired by was the animated show, so I try to capture those colors, but also, of course, by Dripmode. And before I mention some of those display options, look at all the compartments on the inside. Like, how cool is this? So 3 separate floors. You have that foyer down the bottom where you can just put pretty much all of your mutants. I had that bed made for Wolverine, so I put him up there as kind of a goof, but really so many fun things you can do here. And I even showed some pictures of my Hellfire Club, which I've never taken out of the box. I literally only took them out of the box to take a few photos with them. So this could even be your Hellfire Club. And looking over at the outside, there's that Sentinel again. So, I mean, you could see he kind of towers over the sides, but still the middle area, we'll pull back a little bit, is still taller than the Sentinel, which I think is pretty impressive. But really, you can get this whole wide shot of all of your mutants on there. And I just think it looks fantastic. So if you have the room to kind of lay this out, this is a really impressive display in a collection. So maybe not this dollhouse, but just keep your eye out. Facebook Marketplace, thrift stores, eBay. You know, people are always getting rid of dollhouses. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Did I do it justice? I hope I did. But either way, I had such a great time doing this. The hard part now is going to be figuring out where the hell this thing's going to go. But my mom has an arcade room, and I've been filling that with a lot of my dioramas just to kind of spruce it up and have an extra nerd room away from my actual nerd room. So maybe I'll bring this over there since she helped out so much with it. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Really appreciate it. And until the next episode, we'll catch you next time.